legends, I hope you're all amazing. On today's video, I want to do a very quick side-by-side between my Soldano Hot Rod 50 Plus and the new Soldano Astro. The Astro is a 6v6 powered 20-watt amp. It's got 3 channels and 4 different gain voicings on there that they refer to as galaxies. I found that the red galaxy on the Astro closest matches the main overdrive sound of the Hot Rod 50. So I'm using the red galaxy mode on the Astro, the overdrive channel of the Hot Rod 50. We'll talk about what I did and what I heard in just a little bit, but I'm just going to play you a classic rat riff and we'll go side by side with them. Let's go. They sound close enough for rock and roll, but there are some differences in there. I did dial in these settings using the tone match block on my Axe effects, and I'll put the chart up there. You can see that for the settings there were a few little differences, mostly in the 400 Hertz range and then the extreme low end on there. But to my ears and to my fingers, the Astro kind of captures the vibe of that channel pretty well. I did notice that palm mutes were just a little bit tighter on the Hot Rod 50 Plus, which I would probably put down to it being a 50-watt amp versus the Astro being a 20-watt amp, and the Astro just having to work a little bit harder. It's probably smoothing things out a little bit. There is a 3-way deep voicing on the Astro, which we'll check out in a second. I also noticed I had to turn the presence and treble knobs on the Astro a little bit higher to get that classic Soldano hair, but that's why there's knobs on there. You know, if one amp has its knob at 4 and the other one has it at 6, I personally don't consider it that much of a big difference. A few interesting things about these that I like about each of them is that on the Hot Rod 50 Plus, I've got the gain at 4. If I take it down somewhere below 2, and again these go to 11, you get this really cool sort of modded JCM 800 or Plexi thing out of it that actually cleans up really well with your guitar volume control. There's also a limited control set on the Soldano, so I find myself kind of more compelled to just set it and forget it, hit it with a boost pedal if I want more gain, or clean up my volume control on there. That's how I used to use that amp when I gigged it live. The Astro, though, has the 3 different galaxy voicings for the gain channel. So if I'm on the red mode, I have that big classic hair metal sound, but I really like the blue mode on here for that lower gain thing. So I found myself, rather than tweaking the gain control, just flipping through the different galaxy modes. And then there is a 3-way deep switch to change up the low end voicing. So I'll go through the 3 galaxies so you can hear the differences in gain structure, and then I'll go left to right on the deep switch and just chug the low string. interesting feature on the Astro is that it has built-in IR loading and power amp simulation. So let's hear this with the setup at the moment where I'm running it into a fractal X load, and then we'll just hear the DI out of the amp with the same IR. Overall, I think these have way more in common than any small differences that we heard in the comparison. The other thing that plays into this is, like, if somebody tells me, hey, you can have a 20 watt amp or a 50 watt amp, I am just inherently biased to go, more is more. How can less be more? I want the 50 watt amp, or I want the 100 watt amp. That just comes from the way I grew up, everything that I read, where everything just said, well, more wattage is more good. And just reducing the differences between these two amps to the number of watts in the power amp section does them a massive disservice. There's obvious differences in the functionality and the form factor and the price. One's clearly more flexible than the other if you need MIDI and channel switching and direct outs and things like that. Whereas the other one, the Hot Rod 50, it gives you this kind of Spartan workflow where you just dial the amp in. It does that one sound so very well. I have had a lot of people ask me, hey, if I had to buy a new amp and budget wasn't a concern, what would be the factors that go into, say, buying an SLO or a used Hot Rod or an SLO 30 or the Astro? And I think you kind of have to weigh up the fact that if you want the Soldano sound, you can get it out of each of them, but you may prefer the roar of a 100 watt amp, or you may prefer the portability and the ability to scale your sound that a 20 watt amp like the Astro gives you. So there's kind of no right or wrong answer there. I know I'm getting absolute groin rash from straddling the fence so hard here, but it really just does come down to the fact that one is not better than the other. You can't say that objectively about tube amps, but if you're just concerned with the pure tone, I think you can dial them in quite quickly to sound almost indistinguishable from one another. You put that on a recording, you blast some riffs through it, you're going to have a pretty good time with either of these. Having said that, hopefully that answers the question about, like, do they sound similar? You know, basically you just have to use a little bit more presence and treble on the Astro, but it's not like 0 on the Hot Rod is 10 on the Astro. It's like the difference between 4 and 6 or something like that. All these minutiae is what YouTube was invented for regardless. And if you like what I'm doing here on the channel, consider supporting me on Patreon. If you want to hear the Hot Rod recorded, go and check out some of the music I make with my band Ragdoll. Otherwise, have a great day, and I will see you all next time. Cheers.